Hey, what's up guys? Today I'll show you a science fiction thriller film, The Cloverfield Paradox. Spoiler ahead, watch out and take care. With the energy on Earth running out, the world is on the brink of war. In order to resolve the energy crisis, scientists build a Shepard particle accelerator on Cloverfield Station, believing that as long as it works, it would provide the Earth with infinite energy. However, a research team of top scientists from around the world works together, but still can't activate the Shepard particle accelerator. Since the first time the ignition fails, scientists have tried numerous times to activate it within 2 years, but to no avail. All the crew members suffer from great pressure and depression. What's worse, the fuel left on the station is only enough to be used for ignition, roughly for another 3 times. This is their last hope. Should it fail, it will be devastating to Earth. The Russian cosmonaut Vodka blames its failure on the German physicist. So the enraged two start a fight. The other teammates pull the two apart and calm them down. Later, they start the second attempt of ignition. Meanwhile, a famous science fiction writer on Earth is being interviewed. From his point of view, the accelerator is too powerful. They risk ripping open the membrane of space-time when they test it. The experiment might even unleash monsters. However, no matter how much the writer worries about the Cloverfield paradox, the commander still orders to proceed. To their delight, they achieve a seemingly stable beam this time. Just as they are celebrating, the system overloads and the station shakes violently. Multiple breakdowns occur in the station. Seeing the fire spread, the German physicist and his girlfriend, the Chinese engineer, use the ventilation system to put out the fire. But soon, they find that the Earth has disappeared from sight. Vodka assumes that there is something wrong with the orientation system. As long as they fix the gyroscope, they can find the Earth. But the other female astronaut Ava soon finds that the gyroscope has disappeared. As they are working, they hear a terrific shriek. Following the voice, the crew find a girl named Mina behind a wall, fused with wire. She groans in pain, and calls out Ava's name. They take her out and send her to the medical room immediately. Because the woman is in a coma, they can't get anything from her. So they decide to let her rest, and continue to repair the station. But strange things start to happen on the station. The Irish astronaut wearing an angry mustache finds that all the worms are gone. Meanwhile, Vodka is horrified to notice something is moving under his skin, and his eyeballs begin to move without his control. Then he speaks to himself in the mirror, and uses a 3D printer to make a gun. He uses the gun to threaten the German physicist, to tell what Germany is after. But before he can finish his sentence, he convulses greatly, and dies in the medical room. The worms that disappeared burst out of him, which frightens everyone. Later the woman wakes up, and tells Ava that she is her friend, and works as an engineer on the space station. She knows everyone here except for the Chinese engineer. Mina is so confused, because she remembers Ava didn't board the ship this time. And she can't believe that none of the crew know her, except Ava. But she still warns Ava that it is the German physicist that destroyed the accelerator. Hearing this, the commander checks his communication log. It turns out that the German physicist does work for a German intelligence agency. He has been sabotaging the station in secret to make sure that the accelerator doesn't work properly before Germany beats Russia. Under his accusations, however, the German physicist seems innocent and tries to explain himself. But the commander won't believe his smelly man shit because he has got the evidence. So the commander locks the German physicist up. Nobody notices the Chinese engineer and Ava are not in the group photo hung on the wall. Instead, the girl Mina is there. In the meantime, the foosball is rotating fast by itself, and the colors are changing. What's more, when the angry mustache is fixing the panel, his right arm is sucked into the wall, but his angry mustache is spared. The angry mustache screams in anger, and cries for help. When people hear him and pull him out, his arm is cut clean off, but without any blood or pain. Nobody knows how that could happen. Everybody's shocked but feels lucky, for his angry mustache is left uninjured. But the angry mustache regrets a lot, for he'd rather choose to sacrifice his goddamn smelly and angry mustache, rather than his right arm, that could be used very often for self-hormone let go, when confined in such an isolated space station. Just when people are trying to figure out what is going on, the German physicist finds that he is released. At first, he thinks it is the commander that opens the door. He walks out, but sees no one. When he sees something strange is outside, he calls for everyone. People gather and see the angry mustache's missing arm is roaming on its own. They don't know what to do but to trap it under a glass case and observe it, believing that it may soon miss the self-hormone let go that way. The German physicist is convinced that it is all due to the overload of the accelerator. Particles can interact with each other across 2 dimensions. That's why there are so many unexplained happenings on the station. Shortly after, rather than self-hormone let go, the right arm is trying to write something down. So the group give it a marker. The arm instructs them to cut Vodka open. Though they feel sorry for Vodka, they still cut his belly open and are all astonished to find the missing gyroscope inside, exuding some vodka flavor. With the gyroscope put in place, they realize the station is just upside down. They locate the sun and earth and begin restoring their communications. Suddenly, they hear from the news that the war in Europe has lasted for 14 months. The world is in a total mess because of the energy crisis. Much to their shock, the news even says that the wreckage of the Cloverfield station is found in the sea, and the crew are also missing. The German physicist concludes it is not just particles of 2 dimensions interacting, but also they have traveled to another parallel world. The universe they are staying in now is at war, and it's not their real home. Meanwhile, on Earth, Ava's husband hears an explosion in the city. As a doctor, he decides to drive to the hospital to help. But on his way, he is told that the hospital is destroyed, and the Cloverfield station is missing. Right then the husband sees a giant shadow, passing through the ruins in the dust. He saves a crying little girl, taking her to a safe house with him. Ava's husband is not sure what is going on, but he thinks that it's the Cloverfield paradox that leads to the missing of the station. While he is on the phone, the alarm in the safe house is triggered. Then comes the explosion. On the station, the crew are preparing to repair the accelerator and go back to the original universe. After analyzing the data, the Chinese engineer thinks that it might be the condensation that caused the overload, believing that ventilation may fix that problem. She then goes to the condensing chamber to check the circuits. While the German physicist finds that ventilation can stabilize the accelerator, before he can share the good news, an accident happens. The Chinese engineer is locked in the condensing chamber, and the condensing liquid begins to flood in it. Hearing her call for help, people rush to rescue. But the door is sealed, and they can't do anything about it. With the pressure increasing, the door begins to buckle. The damaged chamber freezes immediately, together with the Chinese engineer. The engineer's death grieves the German physicist, and makes the start of the accelerator impossible. They can only place hope on Mina, who is also the engineer from this universe. The commander promises Mina that once she succeeds, he will give all the experiment data of the accelerator to her. Mina tells the crew that due to the damage to the equipment, they can only ignite the accelerator when it is fully charged. While everyone is working, Ava takes Mina to get changed. Mina tells Ava that her children are alive in this parallel universe. That's why Ava doesn't get on board the station. Ava is astonished to hear that, because in her universe, her children died in an accident. When she sees in the video that her kids are alive, she decides to stay in this universe and prevent the tragedy from happening again. At first, the commander doesn't agree with Ava's request, because there is already an Ava in this universe. If she stays, it will cause more problems. But in the end, the commander is moved by her determination and allows her to stay. Shortly after, in order to generate enough power, the crew decide to shut down some life-supporting equipment temporarily and open it when the ignition is done. While the angry mustache is working on it, a strange magnetic field appears in the oxygen tank, and he is trapped in the wall by some metal binder. Soon after, the oxygen tank explodes and causes great damage to the station. If they can't detach the maintenance deck, it will rip the station apart. Therefore, the commander brings Ava and a doctor to repair it. However, when they reach the designated location, the commander suddenly shuts Ava and the doctor outside, because somebody has to stay behind and do it manually. Ava and her teammate watch the commander successfully detaches the deck, but sacrifices himself. With the deck leaving away from the station, the crew are lifted out of danger. Ava decides to go to Earth with Mina in an escape capsule. Before leaving, Ava asks Mina to make a copy of the experiment data of the accelerator and hands over the key to ignition to the doctor. But Mina has other plans. She gets a gun and knocks Ava out in the escape capsule. Later, she activates the auto-return system of the escape capsule and shots the doctor, taking the key from him. When Ava awakes, She stops the system and rushes out, only to find that the doctor is dead, and the German physicist is injured. Mina tells Ava that the world she belongs to is on the brink of doomsday because of the energy crisis. And only the Shepard particle accelerator can bring hope to this world. So she decides to kill 3 people to save 8 billion people. While Mina is arguing with Ava, the German physicist fights back, and buys Ava some time to run away. But soon, Mina catches up and fights with Ava. During the fighting, Mina shoots out the window and is ejected into deep space. Luckily, Ava shuts the door in time and survives. Later, Ava gets the bullet out of the German physicist. Because the ignition needs 2 persons to operate, Ava decides to go back to her universe with him. Before leaving, she sends all the accelerator data to her alternate universe self and warns her to keep away from the dangerous power cell. After all this, Ava and the Germans start the ignition procedure at the same time and reverse the universe shift. Next, they use the ventilation and ignite again. This time, the accelerator works steadily. After reporting to the command center, Ava and the German physicist return to Earth in an evacuation capsule. However, when Ava's husband gets the news that Ava is coming back, he is in despair. It turns out that the overload produced by the accelerator has caused the interlacing of multiple dimensions, and horrible creatures from other universes appear on this world. After a long journey, the capsule enters the Earth's atmosphere finally. However, what welcomes them on the planet Earth is not peace, but a giant monster roaring up and jumping out of the thick clouds. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Peace out.